Welcome to Story Chats at Inspy Romance. I'm Elizabeth Madry, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
I'm Narelle Atkins.
I'm Valerie Comer.
We have Sara Beth Williams with us today to talk about her book, No Matter How Far. I'm going to read your bio, and then we will jump in. Sara Beth Williams is a published author of contemporary Christian romance, an ACFW and CIPA member, and freelance writer. She has a background in freelance publicity, blog managing, newspaper journalism, and 9 years in the field of education. 2 of her 3 novels have been nominated for a SALO Award, A Worthy Heart in 2020 and Anchor My Heart in 2022. She lives in Northern California with her husband and 2 daughters. When she's not held hostage by the keyboard, she enjoys playing guitar, reading, gardening, and spending time with her family. So thank you, Sara Beth, for being here.
I'm very excited. Thank you for having me.
All right, so we usually start our author interviews out by putting you a little on the spot, although Narelle said she gave you a heads up. So, that's okay. And we're going to have you tell us a little bit about No Matter How Far.
No Matter How Far is a part of a multi-author series, and it deals with a character who's a missionary. And he is an Australian professor, associate professor, and he teaches biblical theology at the local seminary in Trinity Lakes, which is this town that we all made up. And I'm in love with this town so much. And I think that was what was most fun, was kind of like helping get the town all situated in my head. It was beautiful. And then my female heroine is a paramedic, and she's also getting her master's in nursing. And so they meet up at a ski resort, and Dylan is a widower, so he his wife died in the mission field, and so he was kind of not looking for a relationship. Neither was she, and so then they ended up falling really quickly for each other, and then finding out that she's a student and he can't date students, so that complicates the entire situation.
Yep. Excellent. No, that's a great way to start us off. It's enough to get you hooked in, I would think. So, Narelle, you're on the list first, so you get to start first.
I am, and it's so fun to be talking about Trinity Lakes. So what I thought we could do first is talk about the Trinity Lakes story world and how, Sara Beth, your characters and your specific story setting fit within the larger multi-author Trinity Lakes story world setting. And also, was it fun writing an Aussie hero? Dylan being an Aussie as well.
I wrote a whole blog post about the writing an Aussie hero. I was very worried about it because I'm the only American author in this series of authors, and we have a New Zealand author and a lot of Australian authors. And so I was like very concerned, like, am I going to sound super cliche? I don't have anything to go on, so I did a lot of research and watched a lot of Bluey with my daughter. And so listening to Bluey was really fun, because I could hear like the conversation, how and it's very Aussie, like the lingo in Bluey, and so that was fun. And then I'm really good friends with Lisa Renee, and just having conversations with the authors in general over months helped kind of me with the dialogue of writing an Aussie hero, and it was a lot easier than I expected it to be. I was very worried at first, but it just happened so fast. I was like, this is amazing. I wish every book could write itself like this. Yay. But yeah, so I was the one that kind of created the Trinity Lakes ski resort, because what mountain town doesn't have a ski resort associated with it, which is my favorite. I grew up going to Lake Tahoe, which is significantly bigger than our little made-up town, but Lake Tahoe is really popular in California and the United States, and has like 90,000 people overall across like the county over there, but spread out a lot. But that was really fun. There's like tons of ski resorts around there, so kind of drew on the experience of growing up doing that. And so the ski resort was something I kind of like created when we got together, and the first part of the book takes place there. And then we have Jocelyn Monroe, who is my heroine, is a paramedic for the city, and so she's basically kind of all over the place. And she helps out with she grew up there, and she helps out with search and rescue, and was an EMT and then became a paramedic and now is going into nursing. So that was that. I'm sorry?
The convoluted path to her career.
Yeah, so she she experienced death in her family, so it was very like she was kind of like, I don't want to ever feel helpless again. So she pursued EMT, then paramedic, and then now she's doing nursing.
Yeah. And we actually meet Jocelyn earlier. Jocelyn's actually in my book, Never Find Another You, which she does search and rescue. So there's a bit of a clue as to what actually happens in my book. Yeah, but it was really fun to write her in my book as well.
I think it was good to have her.
I don't remember her. Is she at the end? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was fun having her make little tiny appearances around town. She's in at least one other book, just as a kind of like just kind of making little cameos. And so after this particular story, which is the last one in year 1, she'll be going to nursing, so she won't be a paramedic anymore. But that's okay. She's still around a little bit.
I think that's one of the fun things about multi-author series like that is the cameo appearances of other people's characters. You can work in a little bit here and a little bit there, and it just ties things together nicely.
All right, Valerie,
Yes,
you wanna dive in with yours?
Sure, I am happy to jump in. Dylan and his wife were on the mission field in Africa when she passed away, and he has zero desire to go back there. Not with a new wife, not by himself. Kind of reminds me of green eggs and ham, like not this, not that, just no way, no how. Can we talk about missions a bit and what your experience is and why you chose to have that as part of Dylan's background?
I've only been on a few mission trips as when I was a teenager. I've had friends that have gone on mission trips. I have another work in progress that's probably never going to be published because I have no idea how to finish it. That deals with another person that goes to Africa as well. So I've had a couple friends that have gone to Africa on mission trips, and I read this really good book when I was a teen, probably in college. I can't remember the name of it. I tried to look for it earlier. It's a young adult series where they are, and I'm pretty sure it's a faith-based series, and it is about missions where they do go on a mission trip together to Africa. And it was really a memorable series for me. So kind of all those things drawing on those. But I did watch I did a lot of research on like the mission attitude of missions, and I do believe that people are called in multiple ways. Like some people are very called, like it's very, very strong, spiritually led to be in the missions field, but then I know that other people kind of like fall into it without even, feeling like a huge pull from God. So kind of, I mentioned that in there too, because I don't want it to feel like all missionaries are called. It's just, there's so many different varieties of missionaries. And maybe in other faith-based organizations, so it's quite a varied experience. And I tried to kind of highlight that a little bit.
Yeah, that was interesting to me because 3 of my sisters were career missionaries overseas, and 3 of their kids are now or on home assignment right now. So, and I think for their kids, some of them did kind of fall into it because that's how they grew up. That's what they knew. But yeah, always fascinated when I find a missions storyline in CCR because it's near.
There isn't that many.
No, there are not.
Aren't that many, but I could name you a few if I could.
Yeah,
I wish
I couldn't even think of any. The only one I knew was one I read a long time ago. So
Yeah. No, that was an interesting backstory to me, and I really enjoyed that part. Thank you.
All right. So I guess that brings it to me. Jocelyn and Dylan are both struggling pretty much throughout the whole series. This story, not series, story with a lot of abandonment issues. Really, when you boil it all down, they both have a lot of pretty significant abandonment issues. I thought it would be interesting to hear a little bit about why you wanted this in both of their stories, what you hope maybe the reader might glean from seeing how each of them approach those and start on their path to healing.
Well, Jocelyn's, I think, more struggling with it just because of a divorce is always very difficult, especially later on in life, and you're like, this shouldn't be happening so late. And I just think it's a very relevant topic for a lot of different reasons. I think everyone knows somebody that's had some kind of background abandonment, whether it's been mild or not. I personally have had 6 deaths in my family and in-laws family, so it feels very strange and like unanchored a little bit. And so Jocelyn, I think, feels like that, where she doesn't have very much, she only has her brother, and her mom's kind of gone, like run off somewhere, which I'm trying to resolve in the second book somehow.
Oh,
Excellent.
Somehow, I don't know. It's kind of something I need to address, and I'm kind of figuring out like what to do about that. I haven't figured it out yet. But I think it's kind of a relevant, you know, uh, conversation that many people can feel like they relate to. As for Dylan, I think that I've experienced a lot of grief, so I've been writing a lot of grief stories lately. And so I don't think he experienced it as much as like whenever you have a death, that's just kind of the way it goes. Like it's different than Jocelyn's family kind of disappearing on her. It's a lot, it's a different kind of feeling. So, and it's also very relatable. Everybody's had, as you grow older, you get, experiences with grief. And so I always try to write my goal is to write characters that are very authentic and relatable to everyone. I know that they're younger characters, and sometimes like they don't feel younger, but they are. And so I kind of have more relatable characteristics that everybody has probably experienced.
That's so true that everyone has experienced the loss of someone they love, whether it's a death or an abandonment of a more purposeful nature.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
they feel it, yeah, even if it wasn't actual abandonment. I mean, sometimes you just feel like nobody is sticking with you.
Yeah.
Even if they're physically present.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was Jocelyn's brother's problem. Like he was dealing with his own personal drama, and so he left, and he struggles with the same thing she struggled with. But he left, and she was like, well, I don't have anybody else, you're the only person I have right now at this point. So sometimes that happens, and it's like, when your sibling, my mom had a lot of problems with her siblings, basically not wanting to interact with each other. And she had a big family, and my dad's side was small. Like he had 2 sisters, one passed away, and they were all very tight. Everybody, cousins, sisters, family, all, that was alive anyway. We're all very tight, and he had a much smaller family, so it was very interesting, that dynamic growing up. Could see the totally different dynamic on both sides.
do you think Dylan maybe felt a little less abandoned by people than he did. Like, I certainly got the sense when I was reading it that Dylan felt like God had abandoned him more than anyone else. He struggled a lot with his anger at God, justifiable, right? When your wife dies very shortly after you get married. But I just thought that was handled really nicely, showing that it's okay to be unhappy with your situation in life, and to wrestle with that.
Grieving.
Yeah, and that it is part of grieving, and that it's like he didn't turn his back on God even though he felt abandoned. He just worked through it. I thought it was handled very nicely.
Thank you. I think it was definitely part of his character development too, because he was a theology professor, because he studied the Bible for like a career.
Yeah.
It brings you closer to God. Like when I was publishing my first novel, I actually studied a lot more of the Bible than I had before, just for the purpose of finding a faith arc and making sure that I was like, including the theme that I was focusing on with biblical background foundations. And it really does bring you closer to God when you focus on the heart of God, the characteristics that are outlined in the Bible.
It's interesting you say that, because I find the same thing too, that I do a lot of independent research just when I'm grappling with themes in a story or something, then I'm often sitting there Googling this and looking up that and talking to my pastor about another thing or whatever, and just it's definitely an avenue, a way that authors can use their career to get closer to God, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I think that was what I tried to do for Dylan as I was building him, just making it that's his personality, like that's what he's doing, why he isn't running away from God, because he's studying God's word all the time and teaching God's word, and so he's very close to, it's like you're arguing with a friend.
Yeah. All right, so you've mentioned book 2. Tell us a little bit about the second season of Trinity Lakes and when that's going to be and those sorts of things. Or unless you don't know.
I think it's coming out in February.
Okay.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
I believe that the next one's coming out in February, which is up for there's actually a few up for pre-order. The next one up for pre-order is called Over the Rainbow. My book's going to be late again, probably like either June or August. I'm considering June at this point. And so my second story will involve Jake, which is Jocelyn's brother.
Okay, good.
And the drama that he went through, which is a little bit touched on in a couple paragraphs in the middle of my story. So he's gonna be kind of returning. She wants him to return, so she's asked him throughout my story. And so he's gonna return and then have his own. He has actually worse abandonment issues than Jocelyn did, I think, because he's younger, and so he feels he definitely has, his abandonment issues are much stronger and much more difficult to overcome, because he had Jocelyn, who was like in college for a lot of his, he's 2 years younger, and then his mom leaving, and then his dad passing away, and then other things that also contribute. So he's had a lot more to struggle against.
Excellent.
That makes your job more fun.
Fun.
Yeah. And then I'm introducing I'm sorry?
It's the kind of fun authors have. Maybe not our characters.
Portraying our characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, my favorite heroes are people who are really broken and like struggling. And it's the kind of hero that I love to read about, and the kind of hero that apparently I like to write about. Although not every single one of them has been like that, but a lot of them are like that. So it's a very strong, like, it's one of my favorite character attributes to have somebody broken and then kind of piece them back together through faith and community and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Love.
Exactly. And do you have any books planned between this and your next Trinity Lakes, or is that your main focus?
I have a lot of books planned. I just don't know when I'm going to be able to get them out.
Fair. That's totally fair. That's the other author problem.
I am trying. Well, it costs money to self-publish, so my financial focus is on Trinity Lakes. The other series that I also have 2 books done in is a beachy coastal series set in a West Coast or California town on the West Coast about a musician who goes incognito to hide out from the paparazzi because he's really sick. And so that is my one series that I'm really hoping to get published soon.
Okay.
And so that one's really I've been working on that one for like 3 years, so it's been a long time.
Wow. Yeah. Sounds good though.
It does.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love the beach, so that was my inspiration for that.
Yep.
And I love music. Music is one of the writing and music are my 2 biggest passions. So
What part of the California coast?
I kind of based the town with a mixture of influences from Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Carmel.
Okay.
So a lot of those.
I love the north coast of California, but I'm not.
Yeah,
so
this would
fond
be
of
like
people, so not the rest.
Mid. Yeah.
This would be like midway, probably halfway. Not quite towards Southern California. It's kind of in the middle. So
Okay. Cool.
yeah.
So Aussie question. How do you define
maybe go it's south of San Francisco, so it's definitely like in the Monterey area.
Yeah.
Like,
Cool.
so yeah.
So what is the line if you would define Northern California and Southern California? This is the Aussie asking.
Oh my God.
What is the line?
There's
Whereabouts do you divide it?
There's not, I don't know. Like there's been petitions to break the state up into 3 space states, and there's been petitions to break it up into 2 states, and it just isn't feasible like economically because we have northern and then central and then southern. So it's kind of like it's hard to find a line because sometimes people call like, well, let's see, like if we're talking like news stations, the news stations will go down to I don't like they'll cover this news station covers like Sacramento all the way down like about a couple hours down south. And then like that would be Central California, and then down south would be like it's not even Fresno because Fresno is not even considered Southern California.
Fresno's central.
Yeah, so that's so it's even further down. It's like Bakersfield.
Yeah,
so okay.
Once would be the northern end
it's
of southern, I think, and
yeah.
probably not even that far north. I mean, my mom grew up in Los Angeles, so she would consider like the north end of Los Angeles the end of Southern California.
Yeah, that's basically how it goes because once you go north of Los Angeles County, which is huge.
Yeah.
And once you go past that, then you're in Central California, which is a bunch of farmland forever and ever and ever.
And that's where my dad's from.
Hours
from Central California.
Yeah, so it's just farmland for like ages, for hours, like literally hours. And then you get past that farmland and then you get into like Modesto and then you start seeing more development. Yeah. But well, there's even farm after that. I don't know. It's farms everywhere. In the central part. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see what you do with that series.
Yes.
Have you been to Eastern Washington where any of you guys from that series? Tell me
I've never been. I've driven through Seattle. I've driven through Oregon and Washington, but I've never been on the east side.
Yeah,
I've been on a train through Spokane. Does that count?
It's a little north of that, but yeah.
Spokane is closer than Seattle for sure.
I met a lady at my school that I work in the summer
Mhm.
who's from or near Eastern Washington, and that was very interesting talking to her about it, about Dayton and about kind of like where it's
Interesting area.
based.
Carolyn
Yeah.
Miller is the person in the group who'd been through that area
Okay.
and
Oh,
she'd
yeah.
visited. Yep.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah.
All right. Do you have a website or a
Mhm.
recommended place for people to find you and follow you and stalk you for future news?
Yeah, so I just finally got a better website that isn't crashing all the time. Yay.
Yay.
Because
for
last year I had one and it was crashing. Like I would get emails, your site has been down for 13 minutes. Like what? So I finally got a new one. So it's just my name, Sara Beth Williams at .com. So it's very easy.
Excellent.
It's good. And so then I don't have to give out my Amazon. This is my book number. What?
Right. Exactly. All right. And they can find your socials and whatever there.
Yeah, so everything is on there. The book is on the front page and all my information on there. You can subscribe to my newsletter. I either mention a giveaway or give away something every month
Nice.
or mention something else, some other giveaway happening.
Excellent.
And that's the easiest way to find out all the stuff about me.
Excellent. Sounds
It's a
good.
good place for that to happen.
Final thoughts, anyone, on No Matter How Far that we didn't hit that desperately need to be mentioned? No. Okay. I
Did
will
I tell you
say,
I wrote it in like 8 weeks?
oh wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
There's some crazy amount of crazy time. Like it was, and then I wrote the second one in 8 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
And now the third one is taking forever.
Mhm.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good speed.
I will say, don't be scared of it being part of a multi-author series or anything like that. It definitely stands alone. You can read it without having dipped your toes in to Trinity Lakes. But it will, of course, be richer if you have, so that you know who all the other characters are. But if you haven't, it's a great read all on its own. So
Thank you.
all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us at Story Chats. And thank you all for joining us at Story Chats. We'd love to know what you thought. Have you read No Matter How Far? Do you plan to? Let us know in the comments. You can leave a comment on YouTube or on our Facebook page. We will look forward to seeing you again next week. And in the meantime, don't forget to fall in love with a good book. Bye.
Bye.
I
Goodbye, everyone.